Welcome to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and tonight I am delighted to be joined once again by Kevin Graham, and we also have a young debutante in James McKenzie. Welcome to the show, James. 17 years of age.
It's just here to talk about the Celtic.
Here to talk about Celtic. You are a European debutante tonight, and obviously everybody's seen the team. Was it leaked tonight, Kev?
I think it was, but I'm not too sure if it was the right one. It was leaked.
I think Christie was in the league team, wasn't he?
There's a couple teams gone about. One with Bain and goals.
Right, so they're maybe looking to smoke out whoever it is that's leaking the team. Let's have a look at the team, because not that long ago, Kev, you and I were in the pre-match earlier on, and we gave our starting 11s. I think 8 in terms of the players were right in both our sides, but the shape's different, isn't it? So talk us through the team and your thoughts in that selection as well.
The team is Barkas, Welsh, Duffy, Ayer, Frimpong, McGregor, Brown, Laxall, Encham, Ayeti and Griffiths. I think right away, all of us who saw the game on Saturday, it's no surprise that Moy's been dropped, but the fact that Encham's still anywhere near that first 11 is really, really surprising for anybody there. I says in the preview that I wanted energy, I wanted passion, I wanted them to take ownership and leadership of this game. I do not see the energy in the middle of that park. I see a bit of energy up front with Griffiths and Ayeti, but then it depends. We're told that they're not fully fit, so they're going to have a fair shift tonight. But I'm just having a look at that midfield, and I feel that we really lack a bit of legs, a bit of energy, a bit of change in that middle of the park, because it's going to be a tough night for them against a very, very decent Milan side. Even though they've made 5 changes from their game at the weekend, they're still a quality side, they're still an up-and-coming side, they're a young side.
Yep.
They've got legs, so I'm a bit concerned that we haven't maybe took the wee lesson that we learned at the weekend, and we still seem to be stuck in this. The
middle three, isn't it?
In the middle three, that doesn't seem to, which is no clicking at this, just now.
Somebody made a point earlier. I remember, obviously, Beaton now is hardly even considered as a midfielder. We always think of him now as a centre half. But when I watched him in the centre of midfield, it would be almost as if the tempo was sucked out the game the minute Beaton got the ball. And I think the midfield three that we've got in there, and we've seen it on Saturday, there is really no tempo to that. I think McGregor's out of position in that midfield three. You know, and then you start looking, well, if McGregor's going to play more higher up the pitch, who plays in his place? What player can slot into that role that wee bit deeper, Kev? I mean, we don't really know what Sorrow's capable of. I wouldn't have thrown him in tonight. But that middle three's a wee bit of a concern, and it's a surprise for me, James. I mean, when you're looking at that team yourself, what's your thoughts as a starting lineup? A bit surprising?
Well, I wanted to switch that back four, if I'm being perfectly honest, because the 3 at the back, 3-5-2, it just didn't seem to work against Rangers. And then he's been stubborn, he's stuck by it, and I can just see us getting punished again today. I'm really looking forward to it.
That's an interesting word to use, stubborn. Kevin, stubbornness can be a good thing in football and in management, because sometimes you stick by players that prove you right. In this occasion, do you think Neil Lennon has been stubborn and it's going to work?
It's very difficult. On the face of it, I would say no. If you're asking me for my gut feeling when I'm sitting here,
only 2 changes for Saturday.
I'm going to say no. You can say stubborn, sometimes it works, but you can also say that making the same mistakes is a sign of insanity. And some football managers just seem to get into this cycle that they eventually believe that they're going to get proved right, that their way of doing things is the right way of doing things. I mean, I've always had my doubts about the 3-5-2 just because I don't think we've got the wing backs to play it. We haven't got Martin O'Neill wing backs. We haven't got Alan Thompson. We haven't got Didier Agath. And I thought tonight, like James says, that we would have went to a back 4. The back three didn't do, apart from Duffy, didn't do that bad. They didn't do well, but they weren't absolutely atrocious on Saturday. But it's the midfield that's worrying me. I like the pace on the wings. I do like the pace on the wings. I think Milan have went a bit narrow. I thought they might have stuck to their normal formation, but they seem to have went to a 4-3-3, according to the expert on Milan next to me. So I'm just a bit worried about the energy, but we've got energy on the bench if we start getting overrun. But will Lennon make early changes if we are getting overrun? Will we still be in the game when it's time to make the changes? If we can hang on into the game and it's still nothing each after 50, 60 minutes, we've got energy on that bench to come on,
strong bench,
to change the game. But it's just actually hanging on until that point.
I think when I look at that side, the surprising features of it, Kevin, are your two banks of three, your centre backs and your central midfielders, and that's where I expected to see some changes. I wouldn't have thought for a minute that Duffy or Ayer were going to get dropped, even though they weren't at their best on Saturday. Listen, Welsh, we spoke earlier about how disappointing it would be for him to get dropped, because it certainly wouldn't have been for his specific role in Saturday's defeat. It would have been all about shape. But I'm surprised that we've set up with the three at the back. Like Salt and Frimpong, we will be looking for performances that we probably expected on Saturday. I know that Barisic has come off tonight injured. He was a player that really had to be attacked on Saturday, but that's gone now. Will we see a return to form at young Frimpong? Will we be able to actually distribute the ball and use the channels better?
It's all about how we use the ball, how quick we give it to him, how much space Milan give him as well. Because it'll be interesting to see how everybody knows that we're more powerful down the wings. So if they've done that, if Stefan Pauli's done his homework, which I think he will have because he's that kind of manager, then he'll know to try and keep us quiet on the wings. I'm looking for early balls into Ayeti and Griffiths. I says this earlier on. I wouldn't be looking for. I would look for Frimpong and Laxalt to drag us up the park, but drag us up the park quickly by playing the ball quickly into the box, into the front two. The front two are going to have a shift up there. They're going to need to be running the channels. They're going to need to be putting pressure on their back line. And I want to see the ball getting played earlier. I want to see us turning the Milan team. This is not going to be a game where we're going to have lots of the ball and we're going to have ponderous play. And we could be on the back foot quite a bit. So we're going to need to actually use the ball well when we get it.
Two other things I was going to mention, Kevin. First and foremost, that front two, Griffiths and Ayeti, we've certainly not seen them starting. And, we've seen enough of Griffiths over the years. We're getting to know Ayeti. I described him a couple of weeks back as reminding me, not in stature or in build, but in style of play, to the likes of Mark Viduka. A lot of people initially said, he's a Gary Hooper. I think he's more of he holds the ball up. He actually holds the ball up quite well. Yes, he does have that instinct in the box. Griffiths is going to do a lot of the running. It actually looks as though it's a partnership that could do pretty well. It
does. We haven't seen enough of Ayeti yet to say that he could probably play a lone frontman role. I loved your Viduka comparison because he seems to have that quick feet ability. I'm interested in how Griffiths is going to match up with him, where Griffiths is going to be, because an earlier version of Griffiths loved drifting out wide and picking up the ball and driving in on goal, and we haven't really seen that version of Griffiths for a couple of years, mainly probably due to fitness issues. And it'll be interesting to see if we're asking him to drop back into the midfield shift and break. Again, one thing I'm going to say about he hasn't really missed a chance yet, has he?
No.
He seems to be very, very clinical. So this could be a night where we only get one chance, two chances. And if he's in that box, from what we've seen so far, you would have to put money on him actually taking one of those chances.
Yeah, it's one of the things that if the ball drops to Ayeti or indeed Griffiths, you're going to have a much more of a confidence in those two players than had he started maybe with Patrick Lamala, who of course drops to the bench. When we're looking at Cham, James, personally I would have had Christie every day of the week in there. Not just because of the performance on Saturday, but Christie is the creator. He is Celtic's most creative player. Do you think that, when you're looking at Cham, it's all down to his European performances? I mean, it's certainly not due to his current performances.
Yeah, last season Cham, of course, the start of the show against Lazio, of course, the famous winner. But I think Christie would provide a lot of energy in that midfield, running at people like Krunic and Kessié. And I think Griffiths will provide a lot of energy going up against Simon Kjær as well. That'll be really exciting to see.
Well, going into your European debut, you have got something in common with young Welsh. Another young player who has reappeared on the bench almost without notice and under the radar is Karamoko Dembele, Kev. Now, Karamoko Dembele probably started the season off on the bench as a real option on the right-hand side. He disappeared from the squad for several weeks. He's back in. Good to see him back in the squad.
I'm pleased he's back in the squad, but then I've got to actually say it's probably just down to lack of numbers that we've got. I mean, we've got 2 goalies on the bench.
Someone mentioned that might be a generic thing in this tournament because Milan have got 2 goalies on the bench and some of the other teams tonight. Is that a ruling?
I'm not 100% sure, but it's quite strange to see 2 goalies on the bench. It's good to see also Ewan Henderson on the bench as well, and Dembele.
I've always been impressed by Henderson.
I think
have we just listed every other player that's in the squad? Because there's loads of subs there if you count them. There's 11 subs on that bench. So I don't think we've actually had it confirmed as to who are the players that are on that bench. It's certainly not 11, have you?
That was for the official Celtic.
It was, aye.
So, maybe they have.
That's maybe why we're seeing players like Hazard, Henderson, Dembele on there. I would expect, obviously, Bain, Taylor, Klamala, Soro, Turnbull, Christie, Rogic, Elyounoussi.
Maybe one of the viewers will tell us, are you allowed 11 on the bench and you're only allowed to choose 5?
Now that we're in the group stages.
Aye, who knows?
I'll increase numbers because of the virus and more subs, they'll need more options. I think that's what I think they'll be.
Now, one of the reasons, obviously, James, that you're on here is you're a Milan correspondent. So what should we expect from AC Milan tonight?
Well, I think the key battle is going to be Theo Hernandez up against Jeremy Frimpong. Frimpong's been caught out quite a few times defensively, and against a fast, good attacker and Theo Hernandez, he's going to be really tested there. And of course, Zlatan Ibrahimovic up against young Welsh, an experienced striker against the polar opposite, and a young player who only made 2 appearances for Celtic. I think that'll be a key test as well up there.
Oh, definitely. I mentioned earlier on, remember Levine picked Gary Kenneth to mark Zlatan when Scotland played Sweden. It is a test, but Kev, we mentioned earlier on, sometimes young guys can rise to that.
Definitely, and come on, Welsh, he's sitting there in that dressing room just now, or if they're out warming up, saying to himself, I'm going to play against one of the greatest strikers ever to play the game.
I know.
I'm now
modern day icon.
He's a modern day icon.
Yep.
He's 39. He's going to play for another couple of years. I reckon that he's going to play into his 40s.
Does he wear a wig?
I don't know. But I don't think Welsh has to be nervous. But the whole team has to be nervous. If you're not nervous in games like this,
you can buzz off that.
You can buzz off it.
Yep.
It's how you react to this. What might happen? The first couple of touches maybe will set the tone for the game. But again, we're sitting here in a studio, and I like sitting watching it watching games with guys. But imagine being at Celtic Park and the place would be absolutely rocking.
I know it would.
We would be, and our team's going to miss that. And I says that earlier on, and Welsh will miss that, Duffy will miss that, Ayer will miss that, Frimpong will miss that. They like Salt, Duffy. They haven't had the right Celtic experience yet. Haven't had the right Celtic experience yet. So they just know they're playing for a big club in a big stadium. They don't know what makes Celtic Football Club special, which I think is us.
They've not had a taste of that, have
They've
they?
not had a taste of that yet. And this is what we're going to be missing tonight. I want a reaction. I want a decent performance, but I'm very, very wary about the team that's been picked.
Would that be right in saying, Kevin, that Barkas played against us for Athens and Ayeti played against us for Basel? Would that be right in saying that? So that might whet their appetite for what's to come, you know, when they're playing on a night like tonight when we're all there.
We've not really mentioned Barkas. This is a big night for him. And I was talking to James earlier on. There's a photo outside of Gordon Banks saving for Pele. And I was telling James, who's a lot younger than all of us, I says, that was claimed to be the greatest save ever. And I asked him, what was your best save? And he said, I didn't really say saves. But for me, the best save I saw all last season was Fraser Foster in the last minute against Lazio, where he clawed that shot. He had no right to save it. I think we need to see Barkas having a match-winning save, or I don't want them to be busy.
A decisive save.
We need them to have a decisive contribution to the game.
Well, absolutely, Kevin, because I mean, it's almost as if there has been this, insistence by the media to dive on Barkas. It's twice it's happened now. Yes, he wasn't great against Rangers, and he probably should have done better against Ferencvaros for a second goal. Overall, has he deserved the kind of criticism that he's been getting? Probably not, but the only way you can shut up the detractors is by going out and having a performance tonight. How important is it? After the last broadcast, Kevin, we go through some of the comments that we can't respond to, and we will be going through some more before kick-off. And someone was saying that we were claiming that 10 in a row didn't matter. At no point did anyone claim that. 10 in a row is a priority, 100%. But what I will say is that a result tonight, imagine going out tonight and getting a famous result against AC Milan, how much that would assist us in just turning the corner and then taking on Aberdeen on Sunday. That's how big tonight is. So although I can understand some people writing off Europe and saying, the cups don't matter this season and 10 in a row is the priority, it all feeds in, doesn't it?
It does. And when the draw for this group was made, I says it was a really good draw, not just for the size of the names and the teams that we had in it, was because we had to be switched on for every single game. There's not a minnow team, as you will, in this group. So there's no any games that we're going into as massive favourites. We're probably going into every game as an underdog. So that means we need to be switched on and focused. And if you want a response, you want a bounce back, then I would rather be playing AC Milan than playing Motherwell at home and in front of an empty stadium tonight. If this was a league, I would rather be playing AC Milan. I would rather be playing a big European tie than a SPL game against a bottom six team where you've got a chance to feel sorry for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've been good at bouncing back and responding the last few years. Like New Year's, when we've lost to Rangers, we've came back into after the winter break. We've just been better, scoring goals for fun. And I hope for the same reaction today.
Absolutely. It's not as though you can get through this game on autopilot.
No.
Everybody needs to step up to the plate, Kev.
I know that. But again, it could be very, very easy to crumble. An early goal and the heads could go down again with nobody in the stadium to pick them up.
Yeah.
It could be, I want to stay in this game for as long as possible. Stay in this game for as long as possible and see where it takes us.
Now, we're looking at a team in terms of shape, which is the same as it was on Saturday. What are we going to do differently? I know the personnel slightly changed up top. What are we going to do differently? Move the ball quicker. It's about the width.
It's about the width. It's about moving the ball quicker. It's about being brave. On a Saturday, the only two guys I can remember taking on somebody were Ayer and Laxalt. The only two guys I can remember dribbling and taking players on. It's about winning your battles. It's about wanting to be on that pitch. And as I've said, no feeling sorry for yourselves. So hopefully they've been listening to the coaching staff during the week. I
thought you were going to say ACSOM.
Well, if they've been listening to ACSOM,
I think a few folk at the club have been listening to us this week after Friday, but there you go.
Move the ball quicker and play with an increased tempo. We need to play with an increased tempo. You sound like John Collins. I still look like John Collins.
No, you're right though. Again, it's not about the cliche. That's what was lacking on Saturday, Kev. It was too pedestrian. It was languid. Everything was slow paced. We've got to make Milan work for whatever they're going to get tonight.
They can't just walk at us.
No, they can't just walk here. We've got to make them work. On Saturday, our opponents didn't need to work because we didn't make them work. And I just want to see that intensity in our play.
Maybe we can actually manage a shot on target today. Actually test them a bit.
Well, strangely enough, we've never scored in the last 3 times that we've played Milan, So
yep. So now, it was also an interesting stat yesterday from Tony Haggerty. That was a podcast that was a long time coming because obviously we met Tony some time ago, Kevin, and we knew back then he would be a fantastic guest for a Celtic State of Mind. The podcast went down an absolute storm. The feedback we got was tremendous. The guy's just an intelligent, balanced guy who, again, obviously has a Celtic State of Mind. But he was telling us the stat about the last, if you look at the last 3 games, 6 shots on target against Rangers in the last 3 games. I didn't realise it was as bad as that over the piece. Obviously, the 0 brings that average right down. But tonight, 100%, we need to improve on that. James, when you look at Zlatan, there's been a lot of talk about him, and rightly so. He's a world icon of football, and at 39 he looks in fantastic shape. How do we play him tonight?
Well, people have just been waiting for Zlatan to slow down with age. He went there to the MLS. People are thinking that's his retirement, that's he's done, but he's came back and he's just been better. He's the leader of that Milan team. Everything revolves around him. He's the key man. And do you think anybody on our backline can really stop Zlatan Ibrahimovic realistically? He's a threat in the air. He can do the acrobatics. He can finish. He can do everything. It'll just be a real test for our backline today.
I might be wrong here, but he's never had pace, has he? He's always played with
Just
intelligence. He's always played with that sort of.
He's just a quite technical player.
I'll appear in spaces, and you just need to watch. He's one of those players that you never see running, but he always seems to find space. So it'll be. It's going to be. Look, if you're Ayer, Welsh, or Duffy, and you didn't want to play against Ibrahimovic, then you shouldn't be on this football park.
You should be relishing the challenge, particularly young Welsh, because at the end of the day, you've got, I think Duffy, I've said this a few times now, I think he's working well with Ayer. I think he's helping Ayer on defensively. Ayer looks more of a defender and concentrating on the dirty work of being a centre-half. And, if you're going to be learning your trade, why not learn your trade off the Republic Island captain? And I think Welsh will benefit greatly by playing alongside him. Loads of faith getting shown in young Welsh from Neil Lennon. We spoke, Kevin, about maybe changing the shape at the back. I noticed there, looking at the bench, we don't have the right back. We don't have Ralston on the bench. So Taylor is on there. He's maybe looking at, if you need to switch to a back 2 in the centre, then perhaps the option that you mentioned before, Ayer at right back, Welsh perhaps pushed out to right back because we know he's played there previously. But we will have to see how this develops. Again, 5-10 minutes into the game against Rangers, everybody in this studio were looking around thinking, we're not going to win this, we're not going to change it, we're not going to turn it around. Do you think after such a bad performance and the reaction that's been created, if it doesn't kick off the way that we're expecting, Kevin, that changes will be made? And I don't mean personnel, I'm talking shape.
You would hope
so. Early in the game.
You would hope so, but past, if we're judging it on what's happened previously, then we've got to say no.
He's reluctant.
If you're judging it on this team that he's put out,
there's no plan B.
We've got to say no as well, because he's stuck to a formation and a number of key players who are not functioning very well at this just now. So you've got to say that I can't see his MO changing. That if we're going to make a sub, it will be after 60 minutes. And if he's going to make a sub, it will be not to change the shape, but to go, Cham, doing very well, I'm going to replace you with Christie, and hopefully Christie can do better in that same in the same system.
Took him last week till we were 2 goals down. People were trying it for a sub at half time or a change of shape or something, and he didn't make a change till we were 2 goals down, and the game was pretty much lost.
We lost a goal 9 minutes of the first half and 9 minutes of the second half. You're right, and the change should have been made at half time, but as you say, Kev, it's not the norm for Neil Lennon to make that change. We don't know. I mean, it's not as though we're being pessimistic moving into this game. We're already talking about it not going our way. I'm looking forward to seeing Laxalt. I think it was a difficult start to his Celtic career on Saturday. He'll have quite a lot to prove, playing against his parent club as well. Frimpong, same, for different reasons, Kev. He wants to put in a good performance. He's come in for a lot of criticism. And I think when I was speaking to Stevie earlier, Stevie Milan, we were talking about if you're in that first team, you're a first team player. We can't excuse the fact if the following week you're playing against Liv and you're dynamite and we're giving you loads of praise. You've got to take both. You've got to take the flak if you've had a bad game. Now, before we get kicked off and we ask you your predictions, we'll have a look at some of the feedback that's coming through on the social media channels on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. It's free. And Sean on YouTube cannot believe that Neil Lennon hasn't changed the midfield. I think that is the thing when you're reading through that team and you're up at player number 9 and it's the same lineup. and the last 2 players have been changed. That's fair enough. Ajeti, we've not spoken much about Ajeti. We were concerned about his fitness on Saturday. Apparently, he was in line for a start on Saturday to partner Klimala, Kevin. But when he turns up pre-match, he doesn't feel fit enough, or he's maybe pulled up a wee bit. I'm looking forward to seeing him starting, because obviously when he came in for West Ham, you're looking at the fact that he's come in maybe unfit, looking a wee bit overweight. Griffiths, it's about time he gets a start tonight. So do you think Lenny's looking at that with one eye on the bench? And by the way, we've only got one striker on that bench, so he's maybe also looking at Christie.
The worry for me with Ajeti is he never played a lot of football at West Ham. He's came in here, it's took him a couple of weeks to get fit, then he gets a hamstring injury. And we all know how fragile the hamstring injuries can be if you rush somebody back too quickly. So I'm a bit worried that he's starting this game. Just because of that, because I think he could have a massive influence on our season. And tonight, hamstrings can go at any point, but I'm just worried. I didn't know that he was meant to be playing on Saturday, and when he turned up, he was feeling tight. That worries me. It does worry me greatly, especially with these type of injuries. And I think it's more down to the fact that he hasn't played a lot of football in the last 12 months.
Absolutely.
He a bit tentative towards his hamstring. Might not run as much as he usually would.
He might, and that's something that the
There will be
management...
energy in this game.
Now, Francie W, who comes on and contributes to the show regularly. Welcome back, Francie. Hope you enjoyed tonight. Encham to play a blinder tonight with everyone writing him off. Listen, we know it's not beyond him. In a game like tonight, it's not beyond him. This is a frustration I've got with Encham. I think previously, Kevin, I've said he's a 4 or a 9. Sometimes Edward gives me that impression as well. There's no middle ground with him. You've got the consistency of McGregor, generally, who always puts in a competent display. And then you've got Encham and Edward, and you never know what you're going to get, what version of the player you're going to get.
Either purrs or pukes.
It's all well and good Encham being quality on his day, but when his day's one in every, 6 or 7 games, it's no good enough. Any
player, though, when you think about it, James, when you say something about him and you finish it off with on his day, or you start a sentence off with on his day, this is a guy who's never going to give you the consistency.
This is a man, but the coaching staff, and I must say a coaching staff here, because they are a team, are showing massive faith in this player.
Oh, they are, yep.
Massive faith.
And this is a guy who couldn't buy a game at one time.
I know.
Under Neil Lennon.
Changing the shape to get Encham in the team.
At the start of the season, we were all shoehorning on. So, having a look at that team, there's a lot of interest in narratives, a lot of interest in storylines. There's a lot of interest in potential for fairy tales as well, which is always good being a Celtic fan. There's that potential to be heroes to get born tonight.
Massive night for Welsh.
Massive night for Welsh. Massive night for Frimpong. Wee Griffiths could announce his sell back on the European stage. We might get a new hero in Ajeti, or either that we're going to be sitting at half time going, just end this game.
It was going so well till that last bit there, Kev.
But I didn't want to be seen as a keep the faith merchant.
I keep the faither. AGSC Technology Videos, the 3-5-2 is a brave call. Totally agree with that, particularly after Saturday. But we have no central defenders on the bench, Kevin. Is that too risky? Because obviously we've seen it against Sarajevo. Injury within 6 minutes. We don't have the personnel on the bench. You're going to have to change the shape if that happens.
You've got Ayer and Welsh, who we've already said can play right back. You've got Taylor as a left back. So if any injuries do happen, you have got a right back and a left back to bring on. Yeah. If any injuries do happen.
If I know then you could maybe even drop Brown back into centre back. Would they put that by him?
I've seen Brown play right back.
Right back, yeah.
I have seen him play right back, yeah.
Now, we're looking at that side. Surprising, because we predicted a side earlier on, Kevin. I'm going to ask the Perries for a prediction tonight. I'm going to go 2-2 Frimpong to score the opening goal for Celtic.
I think with the way that we played last time, I can't see us scoring 2 goals. I'm going to go for 1-1. I'd say that's been optimistic.
You going to give us a goal scorer?
I'll go for Lee Griffiths.
Lee Griffiths, Kev.
I'm going to go for 1-1 as well, Duffy.
Now, on Saturday, we were given 3 different prizes from Kevin Tate at the penalty spot. It's a collection of prints and T-shirts. And what we're asking you to do tonight is to give us a prediction of your scoreline. Anyone who gets it right will be put into a draw to win a prize. Surprisingly, nobody got it right on Saturday. We'll go again tonight. And please continue to get involved. We'll see you again at half time. And all that's left for me to say is Kevin and James, thanks again for joining me on A Celtic State of Mind.
Thanks, Paul.
Cheers, Paul.